Hello, welcome back to Life on the Fringe. Today I wanted to talk about mental health, specifically the cost of mental health and the inability to access mental health resources. I was inspired to make this video because I recently got my therapy bill the other day. So, for full disclosure, I go to therapy twice a week. And I have a psychiatrist on top of my psychologist. So, and I meet with my psychiatrist monthly. I have major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety, and BPD, which is borderline personality disorder tendencies, as well as some OCD tendencies as well. So, my mental health, not great. Obviously, I'm working to get more coping mechanisms, improve my mental health, and whatnot through therapy and through medications. But it got me thinking about what is the cost of having a mental illness. So let's put a dollar value on it. I have insurance. And even after insurance, my therapy and my therapy, my meetings with my psychiatrist and my meetings with my therapist after therapy or after insurance costs about $3,000. Not each, no, but $3,000, $75 basically per meeting. So my meetings are 45-minute meetings, twice a week. And when I talk to my psychiatrist, it's about 5 minutes. That's a lot of money. And I am very blessed to be able to go to therapy and get the things I need. But it's not like we're rolling in cash much either. And $3,000 is nothing to scoff at. $3,000 is, 3 months rent that we have spent now on therapy. So that's upsetting. Especially when it's necessary therapy. And when we have had to consider other stronger, more intensive programs, cost is a factor we consider. When I look back on my history of mental illness, I've had mental illnesses diagnosed since ninth grade. I have had them since 7th grade. When I was going to counseling in freshman year of high school, my parents had insurance, and so they took me to therapy once a week for an hour. And it got to the point where it was expensive. And my parents had asked me if I felt like it was necessary because it was expensive. And I probably still needed to go, but I felt so guilty about the cost it was incurring on our family that I said I didn't need to go anymore. In college, our university offered free short-term therapy. So that's therapy where you go in for 6 weeks. It's for not really long-term conditions, but small-term, and then they'll transition you into counseling, if necessary, outside of the university. Well, I couldn't have afforded therapy in Philadelphia, so I just continuously used short-term therapy. As a result, I didn't have too many major crises, but certainly it was not providing the level of care that I need. And that's not on the university, But it is something about the cost of therapy that I think needs to get addressed. Obviously, we have to pay therapists what they deserve. It's a very hard job. Listening to people, tell you all of the negative thoughts they have, dump all of their negative energy on you. You have to have years of schooling to be able to diagnose and treat effectively these conditions. And personally, put in the time and the emotional energy into caring enough to be effective. So that's no shade on, the value of psychologists, therapists, and psychiatrists. But it feels like there needs to be a solution, because certainly in my case, it definitely prolonged my mental illnesses and made it worse. Because I had such short-term care at CAPS, after my 6 weeks would end, my therapy would be over. I would come back, say in a few months, start new therapy with a new therapist, had to go through my history again. That took up a large part of the short-term therapy, because at this point it's years and years and years and years of being untreated and then having short-term treatments while your mental health is continuing to change. So you have to refill in your history. And then I had asked for an emotional support animal, specifically a hamster, because it's important to me to feel needed, and having a pet provides that outlet. It provides you something to care for, something to put time into, something that depends on you. It also, for me, as a self-harm addict, lets me never really be alone in my apartment, because obviously your hamster is always there, and you don't want to, in my mind, this doesn't work for everybody, but in my mind, you don't want to scare the hamster. I know that doesn't work for everyone, but that's why emotional support pets don't work for everybody. But for me, I think it would have been really useful. And the head of counseling agreed. It would be helpful for you to have a emotional support pet, she says. But my request was denied because at the university, I could only have an emotional support pet assigned to me by someone who had seen me for years. And since they only offer 6 weeks at a time therapy, I didn't have one therapist for years. I had 4 therapists over the course of my time at the university. And so that system negatively impacted my ability to get the things I need for my mental health. And I felt betrayed. It made it harder to go back even for the short-term counseling, because it was like, what's the freaking point? It didn't matter that I had records of going to CAPS for every year that I was at school. That didn't matter. It's just that I didn't have one consistent therapist. So that was a process. But let's go back to the costs of mental health. So we have the number of how much does it actually cost to go to therapy. There's the cost of not paying for therapy. And then there's the impact mental health can have on your financial decisions. So one facet of borderline personality disorder is that you can impulsive shop to regain a sense of emotional stability. So for me, what that looks like is I'll be sad, it'll be late at night, I feel alone, I have these emotions that I just can't process, and all of a sudden I'm shopping for hamsters online. Now, thankfully, I grew up in a very frugal family, and so it's never gotten to be this I'm spending thousands of dollars. But for some people with borderline personality disorder, it can be like that, where you end up with major credit card debt because you are regulating your emotions through spending. Another way that it can impact your financial choices is through not being able to be your best at work or to work at all. Now, for me, I had to quit a job because the job was I had mental health problems before this, but at the job I was at, it was such a horrific work environment that it made me suicidal in a real way. And I had to leave because I had to prioritize my own life first. And thankfully, I had another job that provided housing, that I was able to do that, and it provided like food, and I was in school still, so I was still able to like get through. But for a lot of people, that's not the case. And when you're suicidal, you know, prioritizing your mental health is a big deal. And it's not, you know, you can't live for free. But when you are in extreme mental duress, it might be impossible for you to work. And even if you aren't, let's say, at a place where you can't work at all, maybe you're calling in sick all the time because there are days that you just can't get out of bed. Or you're going to work, but then you're not getting anything accomplished, and you're putting your job is at risk because you're not performing at the level of everyone else. Or you are, you're going to work and you're putting in, as much as you can, and you're meeting the requirements, but maybe you're not going above and beyond, and so you don't get that promotion that you were hoping for. These are all ways that mental health affects finances, like personal finances. Another thing that can happen is with school. So for me, my mental health has been bad, like horrifically bad, for probably 2 years. And it has affected my ability to graduate from my master's program. I have one class left, but I am graduating later than I was anticipating graduating, and that is a financial cost. Like just having to pay for another semester is a cost. It's not free to do that. And then B, career-wise, it's something I'm going to have to explain. Applying for law school is something I'm going to have to explain in my career. I don't know how it's going to affect those things, but it could. And it just sucks. I don't know. I don't know if this is like a vent. It just seems like when I've seen like a lot of videos about mental health, we talk about like our feelings, and those are very important. I've made a video like that. I probably will in the future. But I wanted to make a video just about the costs of mental health on the individual. So if you found this video informative, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of our content, click subscribe, ding the bell button to know when we post, which is almost every day. And if you have anything that you want to add to this conversation, leave it in the comment section down below. But most importantly, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!